Hey, everybody. Welcome to 2024. This is Tools, Talents, and Techniques. I'm your host, Dustin Sutton. And today I wanted to, number one, thank everybody for 2023. Everything that we've done with this podcast and the guests and all the listeners and the feedback that we've gotten has been absolutely amazing. So, first and foremost, thank you all. Thank you all for being a part of this. Secondly, I want to talk about 2024. A lot of talk about goal setting every year. Talk about New Year's resolutions and the things you want to do. And what I would like to do in this episode, and this is going to be a solo episode before we have some very special guests coming up in the following weeks. But I wanted to talk about some of the things that I'm implementing in my life, and also some of the things that I'm learning out there and sharing with the guests about the importance of productivity and how to take specific steps, the tools, talents, and techniques to help you achieve your goals. So, first, I want to set the scene and talk about vision and having a clear vision. I think, and I've learned, and I'm experiencing that the more clear you can be, the better the results that you're going to have. And sometimes, most times, those results are not going to be exactly what you expect or think they are going to be. Things always change. There's always going to be a curveball. There's always going to be something that happens along the way. But the importance of having a very clear vision, or at least idea of where you want to go, is probably the most helpful thing that you can have starting out. I'll give you a specific example. Is that at a very limited stage where you talk about when you're talking to somebody, you're having a conversation, and they say, "Hey, how's it going?" You say, "Yeah, good. How about you?" "Yeah." That's very surface. That's not very clear. But if you can be open and honest and clear about the things that you're doing and the challenges you're facing, the things that you want, then that gives people an opportunity to actually help or provide insight or make a connection. And that's so important. So imagine if you're having a conversation with someone. Yeah, things are good. There's a project that I'm working on that could really use some help with, X, Y, and Z. Then that gives that person the opportunity to say, "Oh, well, have you tried this? Or have you thought of this? Or maybe I can introduce you to this person to help you get along the way." So being clear about what you're doing and how you're doing it, what challenges that you're having, what successes that you're having, can be very, very important to help you get forward and move the ball forward. Um, Also, being adaptable and being resilient, something I just touched upon regarding things change. Things will throw you curveball, or there could be something that you didn't even know that obstacle was behind that other obstacle. And so you have to be willing to adapt and have to be with new data, with new information, to be able to say, "You know what? I mean, I thought I was going to zig here, but maybe I need to zag." And be able to have the confidence in yourself and the people around you to help you will make those decisions and make those choices wisely. Another thing I wanted to talk about is mastering focus and clarity. Now, when I talk about being clear and being decisive, that's one thing, but being focused also. And I myself am very, very guilty of this, of wanting to do a million things, wanting to help a billion people. But the thing is, sometimes where you get the most bang for your buck is being able to simplify things and boil things down to a place where you can manage them effectively. The thing that, and I got help from a coach, shout out Bobby, my coach Bobby from last year. He really helped me take all these things I was having so much fun doing, saying, why don't you just focus on this one and see what happens. Sure enough, once I narrowed that focus, all of those things started to show, they started to bloom more in the way that was where I wanted it to be, or where I found it to be the most fun and the most effective. That does not mean everything else goes away. You still have to do your other like, family, friends, do those things. But I'm talking about when you go into the day and you have a task list of 100 things, to be able to say, this one is my priority and this one is a priority. So I'm going to spend most of my time and energy on those two things. I promise you, if you do those things, you're going to get so much more ROI in those efforts than you would otherwise. So again, shout out Coach Bobby for helping me get those trains on the track there. Another thing I would talk about is minimize, or at least limit your distractions. So whether that means delete Instagram off your phone, or maybe not delete, but silence some of your notifications and all those things that you have going on, the emails. Put them on silent. Put your phone away. Maybe put on your headphones with some music that really gets you in the zone. Do something like that. Find ways to focus and minimize distractions. Even if that, I know there's a lot of people working from home still. I know that all my friends in the office sector in commercial real estate don't necessarily like that as much, but it's the truth. And sometimes people, you find different places to do your work, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's a Regis, whether it's at your house. You got to find ways to minimize your distractions, because I know they're all around us, and it's your chores and it's your neighbors and it's all those things. But clarity and focus will enhance your productivity. Another thing I want to make sure that I touch upon is that how your overall health impacts your productivity. And there is a direct correlation. There's a connection between your physical health, your mental well-being, and productivity. Because if you're not in a good space, if you're not in a good place, you're not going to put forth your best effort, and you're not going to put forth your best product. And first and foremost, you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your health. So I feel like a lot of people, the recipe. It's you take in fewer calories than you're expending, right? So if you eat the right things and you try to get those things out of your house, and the cookies and the candy, the holidays are over, put those things leave those things in the center aisle at the grocery store, and just start trying to eat right. Just buy the right things at the grocery store. Those things are going to be crucial. They're your foundation. Go to the gym, go for walks, do something, be physical, but also something that most of the people that are high performers, I'm going to say all, but it's not uncommon that high performers do some kind of centering exercise, whether it be meditation or yoga. And it's not that those things are a panacea, and they're not going to cure all your ills, but and maybe on another episode we'll go deeper into meditation and yoga and what those things are. But if you find a way to center yourself and not be so cluttered and everywhere, and it helps you find your center, find your true self, and then you can go from there. Because if you're going and your health isn't right, your mind isn't right, and you're doing things, and sometimes it can be so erratic, it's going to put off the wrong vibe. You're not going to be as productive as possible. So I think it's so key that you start with yourself, and you start with being in your best place physically, mentally. And a lot of times, simple health habits that you incorporate into your daily routines can become habits pretty quickly. So even if it starts like a day, 2 days, 3 days, but don't give yourself something like, I'm not going to do this ever again. That might not be the best productive way, because if you fall off, you got to give yourself some grace there. So I would say just start with a couple of small habits, whether that be meditate for 5 minutes a day, or even a couple of minutes a day. Just try it. Some breathing exercises, do some stretches, go for a walk around the block, do some of those things. They can really have a lasting effect on your productivity and your overall well-being. Another thing I want to talk about, effective goal setting for the year. And sometimes when you talk about your goals for the year, you got these long-term, you got these big goals that you want to accomplish. Nothing wrong with that. Actually, I think it's great to do those things, but also you need to break them down into smart goals. The specific, measurable, achievable, relevant. All of those things, but sometimes they start with your big goal, right? So you aim for that, but you got to break them down into very manageable steps. And so one of the things that I like to do, and my wife, my family, a lot of people in my sphere like to do, is keep a journal. And there's a personal journal, professional journal, all those things, but you got to write it down. You have to write it down, because an idea is just an idea, and it's not really a goal to me, really, until you write it down. And because then it puts it into the world, like whether you say it out there or but writing it down makes it real. So I would say first thing you should do as far as goal setting is start writing it down. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be your final draft. It's not going to be, written in stone. Just start writing down your goals. They will change. Again, I talk about being adaptable and being flexible. And so just write it down and start doing those type of things. Um, and then I want to talk about like keeping your goals aligned with your personal and professional values. Because sometimes you have these goals and think like, well, is that really what you want? Are those things really what you, and it's okay if that changes and they're not, because that's life. You figure things out as you go along. And there's going to be some things that you think that you want to do now, but later on you're like, oh, maybe I want to do something different here. That's perfectly fine. But it all starts from writing it down, having the idea and writing it down. It will get you so much further than you would otherwise. How many people have had an idea and said, oh, it'd be cool if I did this or that, and then it just disappears. But it really doesn't happen until you start writing it down. So that's a key point that I want to put out there. Also, I want to talk about and this is really important, especially for the young professionals out there, is the art of follow through. And that's, you need to have strategies to maintain your momentum and stay committed to your goals. And again, they may change. They always will. These things are all fluid, and they're going to change. But staying committed and having momentum and setting up, whether they're calendar alerts or pings in your email, there's so many different tools and tips that you can use to make sure that you're following through with the goals that you set. And a lot of times, sometimes you forget to follow up with something. If you don't put it on your calendar, whether it be Outlook or your Google Calendar or something like that, it'll just fall through the cracks. Because like we mentioned before, there's so much that we have responsibility for in our day-to-day lives. So making sure that you're writing it down and you're following up with those things in an effective manner. I mean, following up just, haphazardly isn't necessarily the best way to go, but it's important to track your progress and know what you're supposed to do and when you're supposed to do that. And that's probably the most common pitfall, is people just let things lapse without paying much attention to it. And also, I want to say, for again the young professionals out there, make sure. And this is something we talked about earlier on in some of the interviews in the podcast. Some of the things that have really been a common theme of the importance of showing people your gratitude and that you appreciate the time. Because as we're talking about here, there's only so many hours in the day. And if somebody takes the time to spend with you and help you and talk to you and guide you on the path, send a thank you note. It doesn't always have to be written. That's a special touch that I would suggest that you do is write a handwritten letter. But even if it's a text or an email or call, say, hey, thanks. That meant a lot to me and I appreciate it. That goes a long way. It goes a long way to recognize that somebody did something meaningful for you. So I would make sure to do that. And, furthermore from that, I'm going to talk about networking and building meaningful connections. And you never know what you do or say, or like what that could mean to somebody else, because you never know what somebody else is going through or where they're going. And I see it all the time. Sometimes, with this podcast, sometimes I'll get people that write me or they'll send me a message and they'll talk about how meaningful it was to them. And it could be something that I just glanced over, or I thought it was important, but not like that important. And somebody's like, oh my gosh, this person said that and it resonated with me in this way. And I'm so glad I heard that. To me is one of the most powerful things in the world. And to be able to share that and have that and make those connections, because if this person is saying that and this person saying that, like, wow, now I know, like, I would love for those people to connect and talk, because something beautiful can come from that. So reach out to people. If you see something by somebody online, or a post that they made or something they said, like, reach out to them, because maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's something out there, not to be too woo-woo, but the universe saying, like, there's something there, there's a spark there that you should explore. So I would say reach out to those people that are making a meaningful difference in your life, and also be authentic. Being authentic is probably the most effective way that you can build meaningful relationships. That doesn't mean reach out to somebody and just spill everything in your life, what's going on and everything. That doesn't mean that. But be you. Be you and share what you think and how you think it. And especially if there's nothing really negative, if it's not something that's gonna take away from somebody and it's something that's going to add and it's something positive, then always please reach out to those people, whomever they are. Um, Also, we'll talk about leveraging social media and professional platforms for networking. I myself am not that great at all social media in general, social media in any form. Um, but LinkedIn has been fantastic and really getting to know what people do and how they do it, how long they've been doing it. And it doesn't paint a full picture of that person, but it's a great place and it's a great tool and resource to find people that are aligned with what you do or what you're trying to achieve. So I think using that effectively and reaching out to people that you could connect with on LinkedIn specifically is an amazing place. I also know that Instagram and I guess Snapchat, not sure, but some of these other platforms where you can really connect with people and see similar interests and groups and do those things. It is a very, very effective. Social media isn't as my friend Mark Wills told me one time. He's like, social media isn't social media anymore. It's just media, but it's also society. So really think of it like that. And think of it like it's not just what we thought it was before. It's grown into something much, much bigger and much more powerful. So I think I want to end this with talking about some of the things that some traits of high performers that I've interviewed and that I've met in my personal and professional life. And I know it's easy sometimes to see these people that you see online or see on these videos and put them on a pedestal, which is great. Like some of these people have earned their spot to be able to speak to intelligently to what they've achieved and what they experienced. But one thing that I want to really relay to anybody out there listening or watching is that all these people are people. Yes, they have achieved some very special things and cool things, and they have great stories to share and all those things, but they're people and they're no better than you. They're no better than me, but you're no better than them and I'm no better than them. Everyone is just a person traveling their own path, doing the best they can with what they have. So don't put yourself down or think that, like, oh, that person did, but they did it because it's not a lot of people. They did it because they wanted to do it. Whatever it was that they decided to do, and they wrote it down and they talked to people and they connected with the right people and that helped propel it forward. And there was probably a little bit of luck. There's a lot of talent, but it's not all talent, and it's a lot of just having the confidence and the willingness to do it, whatever those things are. So I would say anybody, all the tools, talents, and techniques to build your professional success, the absolute foundation is believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. And that doesn't mean, you got to be confident. I can do everything. You know what? You can do anything, but you can't do everything. So going back to what I was talking about, focus and being clear on what it is that you want to do and how you want to do it. You got to try. You got to take one step and you got to put it forward. Talk to people about it, write it down, and push it forward. That's the key. And all these high performers, they approach tasks and challenges just like that. Is that they take one step, they have a big goal, and they break it down to tangible steps, manageable activities that they do, and they take it one step at a time. So if you incorporate some of these traits into your daily routines, then you're going to have some serious outcomes. So I hope that people listening to this, you can take from this some guidance, but also some motivation is that you can do it. You can do a lot in a year. More so, I've realized over these past couple of years, I've realized how much you can do with the right people, the right network, the right tools, a little bit of talent, and the right techniques. You can do some amazing things in a short amount of time. So I encourage you to go forth, do whatever you will propel yourself forward as long as you try and you put forth the right effort. And you know what? Tune into Tools, Talents, and Techniques. We got a lot of great guests coming up in 2024. Really excited for next week's guest, and actually the next couple guests. They're going to be really insightful. And everything that we've been talking about, whether it be commercial real estate, or finance, or insurance, entrepreneurs, professional sports, coaching, all of these people. I'm really taking a lot of information, and you start to realize the patterns that they have. So again, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's a lot of your willingness to try, your willingness to be authentic, be you, and put your best foot forward. So again, thank you. I hope you are all starting off your year in a fantastic way, and you're motivated to do whatever you can to get where you want to go.